Hi, welcome to today's edition of the Academy. If you find these videos helpful, even if they're entertaining, just informative, maybe get you thinking a little differently, please share, like, and subscribe. Comment below, let me know how you're using what I'm doing, or even if you've got comments as to ideas, topics that you might want me to cover. Again, I'm trying to deal with military science for the tabletop. These may be miniatures games, but they are war games, and some of the warfare concepts do apply. So today I'm going to cover a topic that it wasn't in my original list of subjects to cover, but I've noticed, especially as I am reviewing some of the history books I'm kind of rereading, I looked at the meta that I play in, and I'm also looking at a lot of the tournament lists, as well as that I've seen anyway. I haven't seen all the tournament lists, and a lot of the bat reps that I watch, several of the stations or YouTube channels, and I'm noticing that there are very, very few flyers used. A lot of lists just simply may include one flyer, what I'll call a token flyer, but you're not actually building a list with air support in mind. So I wanted to kind of touch on that topic, air support. Now, your meta, you may find lots of flyers, but for those of you who don't, or maybe even don't use them and don't take advantage of them, I'm going to cover the subject and maybe convince you to start including some air support of your own. I personally use air support as often as possible. I have 3 armies that I do have flyers for: the Tau, the Imperial Guard, and for the Orcs. Now, I haven't figured out how to do the Exodites yet, at least not. I know I can get certain models that fit the codex fine, but I'm thinking about doing some conversions to actually make my Exodite flyers. But where I do have flyers available to me, I will incorporate them into a list, and often 3 or more. Now, I'm not doing flyer spam, and I'm not talking about flyer spam in this case. I'm talking about legitimate air support. Now, think of your air assets this way. First of all, they ignore cover completely. Putting aside hover mode for a minute, they fly, zooming flyer, at least from 18 inches up to 36, and you don't have to worry about dangerous terrain or what have you. You just fly right through anything. Now, in addition, they have, because you're at a higher level and you can have that increased altitude across the entire board, you generally have better line of sight than any of your ground systems or ground platforms that are carrying the same weapon systems. That's important. Can't see it, you can't shoot it, right? Now, there are very few weapons that can actually handle flyers well. Now, granted, you can throw tons of DACA up there, strength 4, and eventually whittle down a flyer, but that's not optimizing the use of your units. So that's a last ditch. Oh my goodness, I got to deal with this flyer. How do I? Oh, this unit might be able to do it. This might be able to do it. You just have to combine fire. So I'm thinking specifically of actual weapon systems that are designed to basically meet the flyer. The Imperial Guard have a couple. Tau have a lot of options that allow Skyfire, and that's what we're talking about here, Skyfire. Space Marines do have access to a few things, but it's not a lot of weapon systems. And unless you happen to play mysterious objectives and get that number 3 result a few times, you're not guaranteed to be able to effectively mitigate the flyer threat. So it's very good asset compared to, paid equal points, ground-based unit versus an air flyer. I go with the flyer every time because there's less that has a chance to knock it out. Okay. Another thing that's important is it cannot be assaulted. Again, hover mode accepted. If you're flying around with a turreted weapon platform and the opponent has no way of taking that down, they don't have weapons that are strong enough, or they don't have shooting weapons, you can run circles around them literally and shoot them up until they're gone. They can't do anything about it. Now, granted, you can't take objectives, but that's not the purpose of air support, okay? I'll make that clear. Air assets are used to support the rest of your army. There should be other units in your army that are in the position to take and hold objectives, okay? Not the air support. So don't bank on your hover mode flyers doing that, okay? Now, there are 2 types of missions you can give your flyers in general. Okay, one is the traditional ground air support, close air support, right? Close air support protecting your ground targets, ground units from enemy threats. Now, that could be to engage an enemy target to remove a specific threat that's posed against your line. It could also be opening objectives, like shooting something off of an objective or taking out enough of a unit so that when you do assault or when you use other units to shoot at it, you take it out and allow something else to move in and secure that objective. That's what I'm talking about there. You can use bombs or shooting, either way, but the key is to be good at close air support. You want to have a higher ballistic skill or twin linked. The thing about a flyer, if it's got the strafing run special rule, bumps up the ballistic skill by 1. Orc Dakka jets have ballistic skill 5. That ain't so great. Or sorry, 2. But they hit on 5. That's not so great. But because their weapons are twin linked, that means they're hitting half the time. That's a big deal. Now, if you give them air strafing run as well through some upgrade, they're hitting that much more often. So that's the key to ground support, close air support, is making sure you get the higher BS or the twin linking. Okay. Some examples that I'll cover. For example, the Tau Sunshark is a classic bomber. It's got a missile pod on top to give some additional firepower, but that large blast bomb is only a scatter 1d6. So you have a lot more control over where you fly, where you drop that bomb, and how far it's going to scatter. Pretty good accuracy there compared to artillery of the same strength and blast size. All 3 of the Orc flyers are great at ground support. They all have strafing run or twin linked, and it's really effective that way. Imperial Navy has 2 fighters that are really fit this role well, and that's the Lightning Strike Fighter and the Avenger Strike Fighter. Now, the Lightning Strike Fighter is actually a variant of the Lightning Fighter that replaces its autocannon with a pair of bombs and the strafing run special. That's the key. That strafing run special rule. So the last 2, a lot of Space Marine flyers, they're very good at air ground support because they have the weapons that can really dish out damage, and they're almost all twin linked. I can't think of a single Space Marine weapon system outside of missiles that isn't twin linked. So you're going to be hitting most of the time. And then finally, the classic, the Helldrake. That is designed to be close air support. It's not designed to go after anything in the air. Okay. And speaking of in the air, the other mission type you can give your flyers is air superiority. Okay. These are kind of mutually exclusive in one sense, and that's what you need to accomplish one mission is not the same as what you need to accomplish the other in a perfect match. There is some crossover, but there are planes that are better at one mission than the other. So air superiority covers it's actually engaging the enemy air assets, taking out the enemy flyers, so that your own air assets are protected and your ground troops are free from aerial harassment. Okay. The key to this is, though, the flyer that you're using has to have weapons strong enough to deal damage to the enemy flyers. Now, here's a perfect example of a mismatch. The Dakka jet, which you would think of as a air superiority type of a flyer, because it has, especially if you do the upgrades, so you got basically 9 Super Dakka gun shots. I mean, at twin linked, you give it the ace, and you're hitting on 3s, twin linked. That's 75% of the time you're hitting. Problem is, those are only strength 6 hits. An armored opponent with a Storm Raven is armor 12. You're glancing on 6s. Storm Talons, you're glancing on 5s. Not very effective. So now again, of course, against anything that's armor 10, perfect. That's a great one. So again, air superiority here is not a real black and white thing. You have to look at it, is the flyer in this mission going to handle the enemy flyers that it's going to face? Does it have weapons strong enough to deal with the enemy armor? If it doesn't, it's not a good match mission-wise. If it does, then that's your air superiority flyer. So examples besides that would be the Eldar Crimson Hunter. Very good because it's got strength 8 weapons. So not only is it able to take out the Storm Talons on 3s, or sorry, not take it out, but damage it on 3s, or Storm Ravens on 4s, it's popping everything else on 2+. So very effective anti-aircraft weapons there. Now, think in terms of the weapon systems in general. Any weapon system is good against the ground, but it's the target type obviously going to matter when you're looking at the strength of the gun. In the air, you need at least strength 4 But why bother with strength 4? Because strength 4 is only glancing on 6. You want to have 6s or better. You want to have at least a 4 plus. So strength 6, 7, 8, you're good to go. There are 9s on when the Space Marines twin link their las cannons. Valkyries have the las cannons, but very few other flyers have that high strength system. Now, another good example of the air superiority fire would be the Tau Barracuda or the Tau Razor Shark. Both of them would be good because the Barracuda has strength 7 weapons. Actually, it has 7 shots. No, it's 5 shots because it has the twin link missile pod and it has the ion cannon strength 7. So all that's going to take out most flyers or damage most 5 up on even Space Marine and Storm Ravens. The other benefit is it has 8 strength 5 shots at 18-inch range, and those ignore jinking. So excellent air superiority flyer. The Razor Shark, on the other hand, that has a lot of potential if you incorporate the missile pod as well as the quad ion gun. That's 6 strength 7 shots, so pretty capable. But it's excellent. It's a good hybrid actually. But I do use it anti-air quite a bit, given that Tau don't have much else in the way of anti-air. So those are some good examples. I'm going to use that Razor Shark as an example of a hybrid type, a weapon system that's good in both roles. There are a few of them, such as the Storm Raven. That is fantastic in both roles. And Storm Talons actually are very good in both roles. They're not robust, but their good armor will help you deal with a lot of the enemy flyers out there. They've got twin linked on all their guns, and all their guns are at least strength 6. Well, 5 if you actually use heavy bolters. And that's good to shoot down most strength armor 10. And the more weapons, the higher level weapon systems you get, the more likely you're going to take out the better armored flyers too. So some of the Space Marine flyers are a good hybrid. They fall right in the middle and could be given either mission. So what I want to suggest to you is that instead of just taking a single flyer, look at what your list on the ground is. What does it have? What can it do? And make sure it's a balanced list. And then add a couple flyers, at least 2. Hey, go for 3 if you can. Think about this. What do you have that's going to take on enemy air cover? Okay, whether it's ground support or their own air superiority fighters. What do you have that can take that out? Make sure you get one of those, at least one of those. What do you have that's already represented on your ground weapons platforms that you can put in the air to just give another level of threat to the enemy? So that'd be more ground support role. And then think about if you're more likely to encounter enemy flyers, throw another air superiority fighter in there. If you're not, throw another ground support fighter in there. Don't spam it. Don't put 5, 6 flyers. I mean, you could literally, with one of the Dark Elder attachments, you can put 6 flyers on the board. That's overkill because that doesn't give you a lot of room left for other forces. So I'm just thinking in terms of 3 at the most, 2 at least, because you want to have some flexibility. What happens if that first flyer goes down? You don't have a flyer. You don't have that third dimension anymore. You have actually literally taken a 3-dimensional weapons threat and just made it 2-dimensional. Now they don't have to worry about that Skyfire problem they used to have. Remember, the plan here is to provide the enemy with not problems to solve, but dilemmas. And we'll talk more about that in a future video. But for now, just give some thought to adding some more air to your lists. Flowers are fun to paint, they're fun to use, and I encourage you to add some more. So let me know what you think below. If you've got suggestions, even rebuttals. I mean, let's keep any kind of discussion civil. Remember, this is an art. Warfare is an art. There's no right way and wrong way. There's no black and white here. There's a lot of, well, what if this, what if that? Yeah, that's legitimate kind of conversation. You got to think of all those things. And the more we discuss those things, the more we start thinking about the types of questions we have to ask ourselves as we make the lists up and as we play out our opponents, whatever they happen to bring. That's what makes a good general. The ability to evaluate with all this knowledge that they've built up, respond appropriately to what threats are coming at them and what opportunities are on the table, and then seizing those opportunities where they can. All right? If you like this, again, please share, like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.